Strangely enough, being diagnosed with cancer was not the most horrific event in my life. After getting over the initial shock of being told that I had 4 to 6 months to live, being the true shopaholic that I am, I decided that would be a perfect opportunity to shop until I dropped, literally. After all, I was not going to be the one to have to pay those bills. So I set out with the task of making Neiman's, Macy's, and Nordstrom's my new hangout spots. There was only one fly in the ointment. My dream team of marvelous doctors at MD Anderson Cancer Center somehow managed to flip the switch on death, and I survived. While my family was ecstatic, I was somewhat dubious about the turn of events. So I'm alive, but I'm going to jail because I cannot pay for all this stuff. Well, I had a terrific garage sale and returned what I could. And then I set out a plan to pay for the rest. Through a curious turn of events, at age 42, I went back to school and became the teacher that my now deceased father had predicted years before. You see, I never wanted to be a teacher because I lived with them, and I knew they were mostly scraping for money every month. I had bigger things on the horizon, but many of you now know that the heart truly knows where you belong. From the first day I walked into a classroom, I knew this was why I had survived cancer. I knew that I was finally home. When the opportunity for me to teach AVID was presented, I jumped on it like a truckload of Jimmy Choo shoes. After my experience in the corporate world, I knew that many of the inner city students I taught would never have the chance to go to college unless some serious intervention took place. The AVID program empowered me and provided me the opportunity to make a difference in their lives. You see, all those corporate connections and trainings in sales and public speaking prepared me to be a voice for my students. I've been able to take them on various college campuses in the Houston area. It's a beautiful sight to see a child blossom right before your eyes. Many of my students thought that they were doomed to the generational curses that had plagued many of their families for years. Drugs, teenage pregnancies, and low-salary jobs would no longer be the future for them. As part of the writing required in AVID, my students share their lives with me. I've read about their fears, their disappointments, and I read about dying dreams. But now their papers have a new tone. I read about goals of becoming a valedictorian, even though previously some were C&D students. I read stories about graduation day, and yes, they even tell me about that black Range Rover that they're gonna buy for me when they finish medical school. Wow, medical school. No, not when they make it to the NBA or when their first album drops, but when they begin a career which saves lives. The reward I feel in my heart is immeasurable. My students often call me a star because of the MD Anderson television commercial in which I am featured. I tell them real stars get a check. I did not. I tell them that they are the real stars because they are taking a risk. They're trying to do something that has never been done before in their families. That takes courage. It took no courage for me to get in front of the television camera, just a team of Hollywood people to make me look good, and I did look good. Being an AVID teacher has not been an easy road for me. After the first month, I was seriously considering hanging up my easy grader. How was I ever going to grade all those binders and tutorial request forms? How was I going to keep up with tutors who weren't much older than the students they trained? How was I going to sneak in a few hours of sleep each night? When things really got bad, I would send off a long and somewhat hot email to my district director, Julie Sanders, giving her a good piece of my mind about all this stuff I had to do. Julie, in her infinite wisdom, there's a reason why she's district director, would simply reply in her email, "Breathe, Jackie." And I did. And I went on to fight another day. Julie Sanders and her husband braved the weather this morning and drove all the way from Houston to be here to support me today. So Julie, these are for you. Leave it to me to go off script. This is my moment of fame. I'm gonna use all of it. At my first coordinated teacher training, I met Patrick Briggs, who informed me that I did not have to teach the entire AVID curriculum by Christmas. He also gave me some wise words and told me to start having fun with my students and share in this new spirit of discovery. Patrick, I listened. AVID will forever be a part of my life. The bonds formed in that classroom will not fade because AVID will not fade away. I thank God for sparing my life and for giving me a purpose. Most people think that the 20s and 30s are the best time in a person's life, but I can refute that with evidence. Don't I look great at 54 and a half? Well, that is because I have a fountain of youth in my classroom, my AVID students. Thank you.